All right, so I didn't really think that we'd be able to squeeze out even more features from a phone gimbal, but this is Insta360's all new one. This is the Flow 2 Pro, and even comparing it to last year's Flow Pro, the new enhancements on here are really, really good. And one of the standout ones I want to talk about first is the AI tracking. So in this video, let's talk about all those new features of the Flow 2 Pro. Also, how does it compare to some of the other gimbals on the market, the last year's Flow Pro, as well as the DJI OM6. Now, if those aren't familiar with phone or mobile phone gimbals, basically they are ways for you to keep your footage nice and smooth. Now, even though they have built-in electronic image stabilization on almost all phones now, there's still definitely a bunch of benefits of using a gimbal. Some of them include AI tracking options, more, I would say, kind of smoother professional camera movements. And yes, image stabilization, for the most part, on most cell phones nowadays are really good, but there's still a bunch of reasons why you're gonna want a mobile phone gimbal. And with that said, let's jump right into it and let's talk first and foremost. We have an all new design of the gimbal, even compared to last year's model. You can see they went away from the whole folding handle here, and they kind of went with this more of a kind of pop out style, just like we have here on the DJI one. But the one thing I do like about it is that they did slim it down a little bit. Now, the one thing I do like about the new design is that it's very streamlined. We have a nice big handle here, which was something that we didn't really have on the previous model. We had a really small grip, and they also had to add this little rubber piece on here for you to hold it a little bit better. Now, the one accessory that they do offer, which they offered on the previous model, is this little magnet. I do recommend getting this, especially if you have an iPhone. With the magnet here on the very back of your phone, all you do is slap this on, and now you are ready to then magnetize it to the actual gimbal itself. Then when you want to get up and shooting again, use that magnet, pop it open. Super fast to deploy. But the magnet actually works as a functioning stand, which is pretty cool. So if you want to just have your phone standing just like that, or if you want it on the side, it has a built-in stand onto the magnet. Now, Insta360 does include this one right here, which is the more the traditional clamp style. But honestly, once you go with the magnet, you will not go back to the clamp. Position it right onto the gimbal, open it up, and there you go. We are already ready to shoot. And the one thing that's nice is that you can turn it on so that once you hook up the phone to it, it'll automatically launch the Insta360 app. That way you can be up and ready to shoot. Next feature I really like about the Flow 2 is this. We have a built-in tripod. And not that we didn't have one before on the Flow Pro, but this one is actually solid. Now this one comes out, they're larger, longer, have a tripod legs, where here on the original Flow, they were like two sections. There was section one, then you have to pull it out again. And even when you extend out the Flow Pro, one thing I did mention before is that it still kind of felt a little wobbly, where the DJI one does not have a built-in tripod. You have to carry around a separate tripod, which is pretty large. And as you can see here, you have to carry this around, and look how much bigger this tripod is in comparison to a built-in tripod on the Flow 2 Pro. First feature I want to talk about is the tracking. Now, the AI tracking was something I didn't use too much in the past because it didn't work as good as you would like it to. The AI tracking on the Flow 2 Pro is really solid. I put it through a bunch of tests where I'm tracking my subject, or in this case, it was my son and my daughter while they were ice skating. A lot of people going in and out of the video, and the AI tracking kept lock on my subjects. Now, the reason why it's good to sometimes rely on those AI tracking features is because if you are tracking a subject, a person, a car, an animal, and you don't necessarily want to always have to watch the screen the entire time, with AI tracking, all you do is select the subject, point it in that subject's direction, and then you can focus on whether you're walking, running, and the tracking itself will keep that subject in frame. And the next feature we'll talk about, and this is also goes along with tracking in a way, because they've added a pro framing grid into the app. Now, the pro framing grid allows you to select different quadrants on your screen, and when you select those quadrants, it now keeps your subject in that position of the camera. So if you wanted to have your subject on the left third or the right third of your video, all you have to do is select which quadrant you want it to track in, and then depending on how you position your camera, it'll then keep your subject in that area. Next feature I really like is the AppleKit, which we do have here on the Flow 2 Pro. Now, with AppleKit, what you're able to do is now use over 200 native apps but still use the tracking feature that the Flow 2 does offer. One thing that's really cool with the Apple Dock Kit and the Insta360 Flow 2 is that you can use any of the native apps. Right now I'm filming this on the Apple built-in video app. But the great thing is that if you use the Apple Dock Kit, you don't necessarily have to use the Insta360 app. And I've tested it with Facebook, I've tested it with YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, and you can open up those apps once you're connected with the Apple Dock Kit, and you can still use tracking when you're in those other apps. Now, when talking about the gimbal modes, we have the standard auto mode. We also have the follow function mode. We have pan follow, as well as FPV mode. Next new feature we have here, and sticking with tracking. Again, I think the biggest features on the Flow 2 Pro is the ability to track a lot better. And now we even have zoom tracking on the Flow 2 Pro. Now, what exactly is active zoom tracking? Well, if you are tracking a subject, the subject, of course, will try to stay within the frame that you select. But what's nice is that the zoom functions now will automatically punch into your subject, keep them a little bit closer, keep them more full in the frame, and it'll automatically change the distance away depending on where your subject is. All right, testing the Tracking Plus on the Flow 2 Pro. Really, really good. Comparing it with the DJI Osmo 6, just moving faster, closer to the camera. That's where most cameras won't pick you up. And the Osmo 6 definitely lost me a bunch of times when I'm about maybe 5 or 6 feet as close to the camera, and then moving left to right, the Osmo 6 would lose me. Where here, especially when you have Tracking Plus on, Tracking Plus means you want to use it with the tripod. So both of them were used when the tripod is set up. But when the Tracking Plus is on, this thing moves really fast when you're in that tracking mode to make sure that you're still in frame, especially if you are moving really quick and you're close to the camera. And the next feature we'll talk about is the multi-person tracking, which is something also pretty new. Now, normally if you're tracking a subject like myself, if I were to use this for vlogging, right now the camera is tracking me. So if I go left to right, it's tracking me. But what's really nice is that if you have multiple people in the shot, so if I'm vlogging with somebody next to me, all I have to do is highlight my face as well as theirs in one large box. The Insta360 app will then see multiple people in the shot and then reposition the camera to fit all those people in the video. Next feature we're talking about is 360 infinite pan tracking, which means if I were to set up my gimbal in the middle, and if I have something like a bike and I'm riding my bike, or my kids running all the way around myself or the gimbal itself can now continuously track them in 360. That infinite tracking, of course, also helps you to get those 360-degree panoramic types of photos. Next feature we're talking about is smartphone remote control, which is really cool. If you have multiple people with you, or if you have something like an Apple Watch, you are now able to control the actual gimbal and camera itself with that other device. When it comes to the battery life, we have a rated 10 hours of battery life on the Flow 2 Pro. Now, those are just some of the main AI tracking features that we do have now on the Flow 2 Pro, but there's still a bunch of other new features that this now includes. One new feature is Teleprompter. Now, if you guys aren't familiar with the Teleprompter, basically a Teleprompter is a way for you to view your screen, and it'll have the script or words that come up on it. And what's nice is that you can actually type in or have your script here on the actual phone itself. So if you are doing something like a YouTube video like this, and maybe you have a long script that you normally will read and you don't necessarily want to look off screen or off your camera at a teleprompter, the text will come up now right on screen here. Also, if you're doing something like a selfie, they have this little mirror here on the very back. So it actually gives you a little bit of a mirror for you to see yourself. A feature, of course, that we have on this one, and just like we have on some of the other gimbals, is that you can extend out the arm. And with this arm, you can also go into free tilt mode, which is really cool. So if you just tilt the camera back like this, turn it, now you can actually bring the camera lower to the subject. I'm gonna recenter it here. And by pressing the button here on the side, you can now keep that camera nice and straight and rise above it just like this. The one thing I do like about the Flow 2 Pro is that it does come with this right here, which is a little power cable. So if you're running low on the battery on your phone, all you have to do is plug in at the very bottom of the motor. There is a USB-C port, and then you can pop this onto your camera or your phone just like that. And now you can charge your phone using the actual battery bank inside of the gimbal. Now when it comes down to some of the Insta360 software updates, we do have some video codecs as well as advanced HDR options here in the app. You can also do things like dolly zoom, where it gives you that effect of moving forward, but the background is kind of compressing at the same time. And Insta360 has this attachment, this light attachment. So if you wanted to hook up a light and you wanted to have a little bit better lighting for your selfies, you can actually hook it up just like that to the very bottom. And once you power it on, you can now have a nice bright light here. And you do have some options to change the settings here at the very bottom of the light. There's 2 switches here. Insta360 also offers something like this, which is a little carrying case, and they have a little backpack strap, which I thought was pretty cool. So if you want to hold your gimbal and store it while you're in transit, you can actually hook it up to the side of your backpack strap. Now when it comes out to price, Insta360 Flow 2 Pro comes in at $159. Comes in a couple different kits. This is the standard kit right here, where you're gonna get the gimbal, of course, the gimbal itself. You're gonna get the gimbal itself with the carrying pouch, as well as USB-C charging cable, USB-A to USB-C charging cable, and you're gonna get the phone clamp right here. Now the one I'm testing here is the creator kit, which I really like because in fact, again, it comes with a little short USB-C cable for charging your phone. It also comes with this right here, which is the magnet. And you also get this right here, which is the little light option that you plug into the side of USB-C. And here's thanks to Insta360 for sponsoring this video by sending this out for me to review. If you guys are interested in picking up this gimbal, I'll make sure all of the links are gonna be listed down below in the video description. As always, if you guys got some value from this video, a big like would be much appreciated. This is Ultra Statio with FlytPath.com. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.